Hi everyone, this video is on exercise 9e and this is about the quotient rule. So let me first remind you what's the quotient rule and then we can continue with the exercise. So if you have a function, let's say it's y is equal to u divided by v, where u and v are two functions, then dy by dx is equal to um, basically the denominator squared and the denominator is where it gets a bit messy because you have the function on the denominator times by the derivative of the numerator function with respect to x, and then minus, then now you have the numerator function times the derivative of the denominator function. So I hope you don't get confused with these symbols. I'm going to show that in practice how you can apply them. So it's a rule that it's not hard to apply, but the problem is that it can easily get messy, and you're going to see in this exercise. So also I'm going to do questions A, C, and E because the questions are very similar. So there's no point in doing all of them because some of them are just exactly the same with different numbers. Okay, now let's get this started. For A, we have y is equal to 5x divided by x plus 1. So let's differentiate this function, and basically based on the the quotient rule, the denominator, the function that is on the denominator, in this case is x plus 1, is our v function, for example. We have to basically square that, right? Because that's the denominator function. And then on the numerator, we first just write down basically the function on the denominator, or in that case v, x plus 1 times the derivative of the top function. So now at this point it's up to you. If you want, you can just for example write, for example, v is equal to x plus 1 and then u is equal to 5x, just to keep track of things. And you can also do dv dx to just have them when you want to substitute into the formula. So it's up to you. I personally prefer just do this in my head and just add them to the formula. So yeah, but I just did this for the purpose of teaching. And yeah, so basically we do the v function times du dx. In this case, du dx is just 5 minus, now it's kind of the opposite. So this time we have basically 5x, which is the u function, times dv dx, which is just 1. Now we just need to simplify this. In this case, the simplifying of this function is very simple, so I'm going to do that. But one thing that from now on you can consider is that normally in quotient, when you want to use the quotient rule for differentiation, the final answer that for the derivative that you get is very messy, and it's probably not worth the time to just simplify that. You can just leave your answer as that, because most of the times in the exam they don't ask for a simplified version, so you can just leave your answer in the first form that you get and just keep keep doing the rest of the questions. So this is the final answer of the first question, basically 5 over x plus 1 squared. Okay, C is y is equal to x plus 3 divided by 2x plus 1. So again, the process is just the same as long as you remember the formula. It's very straightforward. So the first thing we do is just we square the denominator function, very simple. And then for the numerator, we always write down the denominator function first, times by the derivative of the numerator function. So the derivative of x plus 3 is just 1. Minus, now you basically do the opposite thing. So this time you write down the numerator function and then the derivative of the denominator function, which is just 2 in this case. So since this one is also not very messy, I'm going to simplify this. So it's 2x plus 1 squared on the denominator, and the numerator is 2x plus 1 minus 2x minus 6. So we have 2x and minus 2x, which cancel out. And then 1 minus 6 is minus 5 divided by 2x plus 1 squared. So minus 5 divided by 2x plus 1 squared is the final answer in this case. Right, and finally, E. So we have y is equal to 6x divided by 5x plus 3 to the power of half, or basically the square root of the denominator. As you can see, still, it's just the same idea. So we need to square the denominator. Remember, if you square the denominator, since it has a power of half, and if you square that, then the power of half will be just cancelled with 2. So you're only going to have 5x plus 3 in the denominator. And just same as usual. So for the numerator, start with writing down the function in the denominator times by the derivative of the numerator function, 6x. The derivative of that is just 6 minus, this time write down the numerator function times by the derivative of the denominator function. So for the denominator, remember that the function we have is, so in the denominator we have 5x plus 3 to the power of a half. And remember, if you want to differentiate this, we need to use the chain rule. And so just as a quick reminder, I'm just going to write this down in case you don't quite remember how we can differentiate this. If you want to differentiate this, remember that you need to use chain rule. So in that case, always the power comes down, and also you find the derivative of the inside the bracket. So 5x plus 3, the derivative of this is just 5. And then open the bracket and just write down what you had. Also the power, you take away 1 from that, so it's going to be minus a half. So this is going to be the derivative of 5x plus 3 to the power of half. So it's just chain rule. Now in this case, we need to apply that and use that in this quotient rule question. So we are going to have 6x, remember 6x was just the u function, times the derivative of the denominator function, which we found that is a half times 5 times 5x plus 3 times minus a half, and close the bracket. And this is one of the questions that I was on about earlier this video, because as you can see now, it's very messy, and you can of course go ahead and simplify this, but it just not worth the time if you are not asked to do so. And it's very normal to get fractions like this, or even worse than this, in quotient rule questions. So don't basically be surprised if you see something like this. Another thing to note before we finish the video is that, as you can see, or hopefully you have seen in the previous videos, the thing about differentiation and integration later on when we work on that is that it's not only about learning a single rule and then hoping that all the questions are based on that. Because as you can see in this question, the question is about the quotient rule, but still we had to use the chain rule to differentiate 5x plus 3 to the power of half. Because without doing chain rule, we couldn't do anything, right? So yeah, it's also very important to just be aware of that, and also be able to use your other techniques when you're basically learning or applying a new technique. So it's very common. Yeah, just as a final note, this is the quotient rule, as you can see here. And again, just the best way I recommend you memorizing, of course you can memorize however you like, but the way that I think is a good way is that you can just memorize in words in your head. So in a way that you can always say the denominator function is a squared in the denominator. So that's the easy part. Then for the numerator, just always write down basically the start with the denominator function times the derivative of the numerator function, then minus, this time it's just the opposite, the numerator function times the derivative of the denominator function. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.